This fucking weather sucks. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Off Base Podcast. The podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one. Big yawn. Only one. I'm your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass. Hey, look at me. 2 pairs of glasses. And it's 13 degrees. That's Fahrenheit, by the way, in the city of Aurora. At 8:11 in the a.m. on Monday, March 7th, 2022. What's up? Jaw time. Hey, person walking. All right. If this entire podcast turns into a weather bitching fest, I apologize. But you know, that's what's going on right now. Here we go. Fucking A, man. Over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we actually had beautiful snow falling. I mean, to sit in your house, turn on your fireplace and watch that shit, it's beautiful. To sit there and admire it. Like a nice painting. But to have to go out in it and do shit, fuck off. Oh my God. This is ridiculous. And my wife and I were talking just about, what's going to be going on for us over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be quite busy. The kids have spring break next week. And my wife has booked a nice little ski stay for us in Keystone, Colorado. And we're excited about that. I am. Second big yawn. And this morning, too, I go out at about, 7:05 to start the car. Oh, maybe a little bit before that. Just so that the car gets warm for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then all the kids hop in and I take them. But I came back in from outside and I said, hey. She said, what? I said, when are we moving back to Texas and or Florida? She's like, I know. So we're both feeling the same way. And here's the other thing, too. It actually got me thinking about when we lived in Alaska. Alaska is tough. You got to be fucking tough to brave the Alaskan winter because, yeah, it's cold. Yeah, it's snowy. No strangers to that because we both grew up on the Great Lakes. But the darkness, man. The darkness will get you. Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. What music video? That's right. Michael Jackson's Thriller. So yeah, the darkness in Alaska is what will get to you. And it really starts to get to you after the holiday season has passed. Because then you get into the grind of either making your way to Easter or waiting for spring. And in Alaska, spring doesn't really come until like May. But the darkness starts to wear on you in February and March. And my wife and I were talking about past ski trips that we had. When we were in Texas, what we would do for the kids' spring break every year is we would drive across West Texas through Lubbock, across the state line over to New Mexico at Clovis, where there is an Air Force base, by the way. And we would stay overnight in Clovis and go to an Asian restaurant, a hibachi restaurant. I think it was either Shogun or Shotgun. We went there for like 5 years in a row. That was our pattern. And then we continued to drive into New Mexico to go to Taos, which is a ski resort in New Mexico. Kids had a great time. We had a great time going there. It was fucking fabulous, kid. And when we would drive back, we would always stop at the same burger joint on the way back. It was probably like an hour and a half from San Antonio. But it was something that we actually ended up doing every year. We made it a tradition. And it was from that point forward, once we got home, where we were in the mode of, all right, now spring is going to be rolling around the corner. And in Texas, obviously you don't have to worry about snow or anything, but it was usually after we got back from spring break and got into April where we started doing more maintenance on our pool, getting it ready for pool season. Because I think we would open it was always sometime around like a little bit after Easter, which was usually in April. So that by the time we hit May, we were going into pool every weekend, and then it would stay open. We'd have it open sometimes until October. And I was joking with my stepson this morning. I said, I don't think the outdoor pool industry is thriving here in Colorado. So anyway, I think when we come back from our spring break trip this year here in Colorado, our psychology, I think, is going to change, because we have been in that pattern of, when we come back from ski trip, now it's time to get ready for spring and into summer. And I think that's probably one of the things that is just weighing on my wife and I right now. It's just this ridiculous schizophrenic weather outside of Denver here. So we got 2 days of snow, and it's going to stay cold again for another 3 days, down in the teens and the 20s, and then next week it's going to be, or after that, then it's going to creep back up into the 50s and 60s and close to 70. It's like, come on, man. You keep giving me this hope like it's going to warm up, and then wham, just hit me with that overhand right. So anyway, there we go. I think I might be done bitching about the weather. That and the other thing, I'm sorry to blow my nose like that, but that fucking dry air. Jesus Christ. That kills me. The dry air. Texas heat was dry, but it wasn't this dry. Man. It just turns all your, I hate to say it, just turns all your boogers to solidness. Doesn't make them easier to pick, too, because they're way up there. I don't know if it's just me and my nose hair. Why, you jackass? Why are you talking about this disgusting stuff? Your 2 podcast listeners don't want to be hearing about your nose hair. Hey, I'm an old man. I don't want hair coming out of my nose and ears. I don't know what that has to do with the dry air and the boogers, but anyway. I certainly could have gotten better sleep last night. For some reason, I couldn't fall asleep right away, so I got up. I should have stayed in bed and just toughed it out. That would have been better than what I did. YouTube rabbit hole again. Just catching up on wrestlers that came after the Attitude Era, came after Stone Cold and The Rock, who ended up making huge names for themselves and are now the veterans, the big men on campus. Guys like John Cena, Randy Orton, Dave Bautista. He was Triple H's bodyguard when I stopped watching him. He was Deacon Batista, and he was slowly turning into the Animal at that point. But I never got to see him on any of his championship runs. And when they formed the stable with Flair, the Nature Boy, who I do at almost the start of every podcast. I don't think I did him today, so I'll give a shout out to the Nature Boy right now. Woo! That dude, man, Nature Boy Ric Flair. I don't care when my father and me and my brothers would sit down and watch wrestling on Saturday mornings. I think it came out on Sunday too, back then. No, it wasn't Saturday. Yeah, Saturday morning was NWA, which is where Flair was, and then we used to watch WWF, I think, on Sundays before they got into their legal battle with the World Wildlife Federation or whatever. Then they had to go WWE. But anyway, anytime that Flair would come out and do his woo, my father would just crack the fuck up. And then, we were sitting there watching, and we're thinking that it's all real. And my dad's like, no, they're gonna, after this match is over, they're gonna go have a beer together. And we were like, no, they're not. They hate each other. Yeah, watch next week, they're gonna fight again. Little did we know. But it's just fun for me to go back and watch the wrestlers do podcasts and interviews now. Stone Cold's been big on keeping the stories going of what they would do back in the day. Because we grew up with Hulk Hogan, and we went to a couple matches in our hometown. And one of the kids in my grade school class, actually got picked up by Andre the Giant, and this kid was tiny compared to the rest of us, so he's already small. And then Andre picked him up and put him on his shoulders when they came to town, and we were like, oh. Raymond. His name was Raymond Spada. And Raymond got picked up by Andre. It was awesome. My favorites back then, without a doubt, were Sting and Lex Luger. Luger because he just looked so goddamn good. And Sting because Sting was the fucking man. I didn't really catch on with Hulk Hogan. Wasn't the biggest fan of the Hulkster. I like the Macho Man more. But yeah, Sting was his shit. And being able to actually live through the Attitude Era was pretty fucking cool. I was in graduate school at the time, and all my roommates, except for one, Dominic Monty, I wish I would have gotten to know Dom a little bit better. But at that particular point in time, if you weren't sharing my interests, I didn't have any I didn't have any interest in you, and getting to know people a little bit better. But there were four of us in the room. It was me, Russ, well, I forgot his last name, and Kevin Smith. Interestingly enough, right? Kevin Smith of the movie fame. But we would always, Monday night and Thursday night, man. And once in a while we would order the pay-per-view, especially when there was a big match coming up. But we were fortunate enough to live in a time where we had the time to actually sit back and enjoy what the hell was going on. We flipped back and forth between USA Network and TNT, SmackDown and Thunder, and Raw and Nitro. Oh, it's fucking fabulous, man. What a great time to be a wrestling fan. So we got to see the rise of the outsiders, and then Hogan comes in, and we were just like, oh, Jesus Christ, not again. Because he got to be so one-dimensional. Granted, great worker, did more for wrestling, that catapulted onto the international scene than anybody. But he was just tired. And it was like, when are these other younger guys going to get their shot? Why can't you give us a Nash-Hogan fight, which is one of the things we wanted? And finally the Hogan Sting, but they fucking botched all that up like you wouldn't believe. And Luger Hogan, too. But anyway, we also got to see, again, in WCW, the rise of the Crow Sting. What a fabulous, fabulous character. But at the same time, as intriguing as that was, and they never fucking did anything with that, then you had the opposite side of the fence. You had the rise of Stone Cold and The Rock, while at the same time continuing to develop your minor characters. And I don't even want to call them minor, because they really were major, but they weren't the draws that Stone Cold and The Rock were. And I'm talking about Shawn Michaels, talking about Triple H, talking about The Undertaker. And, even guys like, when The Rock was in the Nation of Domination with Ron Simmons, who was so fucking cool. I loved watching Ron Simmons, especially when he was in Doom back in WCW. Him and Butch Reed, I think. I can't remember the other guy now. Shit, I should know that. But anyway, Ron Simmons, they break up the Nation of Domination, and now you get Ron Simmons and Bradshaw forming the APA together. It's fucking hysterical. And then also ass kickers at the same time. And then you had fucking Kama becoming the Godfather, one of the coolest gimmicks out there. I mean, WWE, they really knew how to not just have, a tall skyscraper, the tallest skyscraper in the city, but they also had surrounding buildings that were almost just as tall, almost just as over with the fans, man. Vince McMahon really knew how to build the brand back then. But, ever since they bought out WCW, now it's kind of like, well, all right, great, you consolidated a power. Now, where do you go from here? And that's probably what hasn't gotten me to be the true wrestling fan that I was back in the day. Because competition is gone. So anyway, there we go with a little wrestling rabbit hole. So we went from weather to wrestling. Do I have another W I can hit on? Weight training. Uh-oh. Slide. Jesus Christ. See, that's what I mean by it's fucking weather. I had a slide when I was taking the kids to school as well. Luckily, I have been driving slow, giving myself plenty of distance. 13 fucking degrees. And the funny thing is that by the time I hit the afternoon and go to pick the kids up, there's probably not going to be any ice or snow left on the roads. It's really weird out here. Really weird. It doesn't pile up and it doesn't stay long. I don't know. What was my other W I was going to hit on? Weight training. Yeah, stepson and I have not done together, haven't done a leg routine in a while because last week we did our transition week. The week before that, he had something else going on a Saturday where he didn't work out with me for some reason. I forgot what it was. And then he also missed the prior Saturday to that. So usually on Mondays we do our pool routine, P-U-L-L, not P-O-O-L. We're not going swimming. So we focus on back, shoulders, and biceps. But I think we're going to mix it up today to get a leg routine in because next week we are going skiing. And we will certainly get a leg routine in every day while skiing, but we're going to miss some other stuff. So, see, now my brain is trying to search for another W topic so I can have 3 W's to talk about. Women. Women weaken legs. What movie? Come on. Burgess Meredith, baby. Rocky. Women weaken legs. My father used to say that all the time. And I'll never forget one time in high school, I had gotten frisky with my girlfriend at the time the night before a game, and I played like shit the next day. Anyway, don't want to dive too deep into that. You know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? I love how that word is a giant contraction of do you know what I mean? 6 words into nah mean. We're getting so old. Oh yeah, we did the Air Force fit test over the weekend. I barely broke 15 minutes on my run. I was pissed about that. I actually thought my cardio was a little bit better. And I thought a little bit later, well, it might have to do with the fact that I am on the ketogenic diet, which is much, much better for doing steady state, low impact cardio. And if you're trying to get your best time on a run, that means you gotta run a little bit faster. And that type of energy expenditure is usually facilitated by carbohydrates. Pushing faster, pushing harder like that. Like I said, steady state is better for, fats are better for steady state. So if I was running at a slow pace, slower pace, like maybe 5.5, 6 miles per hour on the treadmill. But I was trying to do 7.5, so I could get the time under 15 minutes. It was still rough on me. I got to improve mi cardio. Push-ups I maxed out on. It's fantastic. I think because we did it twice. My wife actually did the Air Force Fit Test with us, which was great. So each one of us had to run, me, my wife, my stepson, roughly 15, 20 minutes, right? So while one person was doing the run, the other two were doing the push-ups and the sit-ups. So we ended up doing the push-ups and the sit-ups twice. And I got, I think it was 52 push-ups in a minute. And the max for my age bracket is 44. So my push-up game is strong. My sit-ups suck ass. I forgot what my max is, but I think in order to pass, I had to get 32. And I think I got 36 in a minute. That blows. But I did pass the tests. I think, I can't remember what time for the run puts you at a low risk. I think it's over 16 or 17 minutes, something like that. Anyway, we got the workout in. Sunday was a lazy day. We cleaned the house, though. House looks great. My wife took all the Valentine's decorations down, put up the Easter ones, and she cleaned a couple rooms. I cleaned the kitchen and the bathroom. So it's kind of like a spring cleaning that we did, even though spring isn't officially here. We're far from it with this fucking weather. Oh, look at me. That's all I'm doing is bitching about the weather today. That's because I hate it. We both hate it. Although, interestingly enough, my wife is in competition for Tier 1 Command. So, for my 2 podcast listeners, she's a group commander right now. She's a Tier 2 group commander. And every group commander has to do a Tier 2 assignment before they can compete for a Tier 1 assignment. Tier 1, and there's only, what did she tell me? 7 or 8? That even might be too much. It might be 5 or 6 Tier 1 hospitals in the Air Force. And Tier 1, what you have is, you have an emergency room, outpatient, inpatient services, surgeries that are performed right there on base. So there's really only a handful of them across the globe, Tier 1 hospitals. One of them was in Florida where we were, and she loved her job there. She really did. She loves her job here. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so if she does get a Tier 1 command, one of the ones that is available, a Tier 1 command, is also another place that we were, which was in Alaska. And, the Alaskan winter, like I said, as bad as it is as far as the darkness and stuff goes, I would much rather go through that extreme than this schizophrenic bullshit that we have in Denver. Yeah, I don't like it. And even when I finally moved out of my hometown, out of Erie, Pennsylvania, which our winters lasted just as long as they do here. It was from November to April. Sometimes I never forget delivering papers in May, and it was snowing in May in Erie, Saturday morning. I'll never forget that. I was like, what the hell? It's May. Shouldn't we be going out playing baseball? Yeah, as much as what I was going to say was when I first moved out of my hometown, I was in a warmer climate, particularly when I was in Virginia. Now, we got snow in Virginia, but, it was much, much warmer all year round. I just didn't understand why people would choose to live in a place where it was that fucking cold for half the year. And when we got to Texas and Florida, it was like, oh my God, this is fucking fantastic. Don't want to be anywhere else. And the cost of living in those places is low. And you don't pay any state income taxes. It's like, why are you going to stay in this shitbag weather? I don't get it. But that's all right. We're all wired differently. My parents, I've asked them before, and they just say, that all their friends are there, and I understand that. They grew up through hard times. They make good friends. People don't move around a lot. All right, I'm about to get scanned, everybody. Oh, morning. Thank you. Here we go, back on base. We made it. 16 fucking degrees. Jesus. Let's get that window rolled up because this ain't fun, dog. No fun. Alright. Let's see what kind of view we got of Denver in the foreground and the Rockies in the background. We'll see how it goes. Views coming up. Oh, the mountain. We're not getting a whole heck of a lot of detail on the mountains this morning. Let's see. I mean, it's still beautiful, but it's so much cooler when the skies are clear. It's partly cloudy right now, a bit of a haze. But that's a cool sight, man. Very cool sight. So I think we'll shut it down for today. I'm hoping everybody's got a good week planned. And if you have plans past this week, like we do for their ski trip, look forward to them. Use them to drive you through your workday, so that you work hard, so that when you get to the promised land, it feels that much more rewarding. That's what I'm going to try to do myself. All right, everybody? Okay. Have a great Monday. Smell you tomorrow.